What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another 76ers Now, a loaded show to get to here on this Monday, October 13th. The Sixers signing a former first-round pick, Joel Embiid. 5-on-5 scrimmage live in front of 76ers fans. Some more Sixers injury news to get to on Paul George, VJ Edgecombe, and Trendon Watford. Plus some more preseason takeaways after the Sixers' last preseason loss to the Orlando Magic ahead of their preseason finale this Friday against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Before we get to all of that, guys, we are Kelly Oubre days, just 9 days away from the start of the Sixers 25-26 NBA season on Wednesday, October 22nd against the Boston Celtics. A lot of news, a lot of things happening, and if you want Sixers news, rumors, analysis, reactions, and more all year long, be sure to lock us in and hit that sub button. Let's get started with this Sixers roster move, as Philadelphia is reportedly signing, or expected to sign, I should say, former first-round pick of the Milwaukee Bucks, MarJon Beauchamp, to an Exhibit 10 deal. Now, the reason I say expected to sign is because he was with the Portland Trail Blazers most recently on a training camp deal. They have waived him. Now, they can, I believe, bring him back still to their G League roster if they want. So this move hasn't become official quite yet, but Keith Pompey of the Philadelphia Inquirer letting us know that if everything does go as expected, Beauchamp will sign his contract with the Sixers. Sources have said the 6'6" small forward has agreed to an Exhibit 10 deal with the Sixers, so not a real roster spot, but basically a deal that incentivizes him to return to the Sixers G League squad. However, team source said it's not official yet. The Trailblazers are still involved here. They waived him on Tuesday, 1 week after signing him to an Exhibit 10 deal. So it does sound like, even though it's not official yet, Beauchamp will be joining the Sixers organization on this Exhibit 10 deal here in the coming days. Now, more on the player because, a former first-round pick who had some athletic upside and some interesting tools that hasn't really worked out up to this point in his NBA career. 6'6", $199, just turned 25 yesterday, actually. So happy birthday to Beauchamp, celebrating by joining the Philadelphia 76ers. Was with the G League Ignite back in the 21-22 season. Played well enough to be that first-round pick, 24th overall in the 2022 NBA draft by the Milwaukee Bucks. Spent the first about 2.5 years of his NBA career over there in Milwaukee, 126 games, but again, never really was able to carve out a role for himself on a championship contending level team. And then in the middle of last season, ended up getting traded from the Bucks to the Clippers. They waived him, spent 6 games with the New York Knicks before, of course, being with the Blazers this past offseason with a training camp deal, now joining Philadelphia. And look, a player that, again, had some expectations, but you kind of knew it was going to be a little bit of a project with Beauchamp coming out of the G League Ignite, and then in his early time with Milwaukee, got some run early on, but just was never able to put it all together with his scoring tools and really being a well-rounded player in his career. 135 games, just 4 points, 2 rebounds, shooting 43% from the field and about 35% from three. Now, again, he has some talent, right? That first-round pick with, decent size at 6'6", to play the 2, play the 3, and he had some scoring chops in him that he showed in the G League, but the problem was early on in his career, and this is coming from a lot of different Bucks writers and reporters who kind of chronicled the end of his time in Milwaukee because they did have a lot of high hopes for him. He never was really able to adapt into becoming more of a role player, right? In his time in the G League where he was young and he was still getting decent minutes, he earned minutes by being that lead scorer and being that lead creator. And over his time in his NBA career, he's tried to show he can earn minutes by taking and making tough shots. But for a player like him, he adopted too much of a I'm going to get mine mentality and not enough of let me take a look at where I can actually fit in the NBA and know, all right, I'm probably not going to be a superstar. I'm probably not going to be a number 1 or number 2 scoring option. So how can I help out the team in a different variety of ways? Never was able to develop that. He always just wanted to see him to be that primary scorer. We'll see if he can continue to develop some of those other aspects of his game, because if he can be an intriguing player here, if nothing else, for the G League team. Someone who, again, former first-round pick with some athletic tools. Let's move on to this great news that Sixers fans have got on Joel Embiid. Obviously, as we know, The practice stuff with Embiid, with his injuries, been on and off. We haven't really been too informed on what's been going on, but we do know he has been doing some live action in practice with the Sixers leading up to the start of this season. And then yesterday, the Sixers held their annual 5-on-5 blue and white scrimmage, basically just kind of simulating what the end of a practice would be for the Sixers, but with fans in attendance at the practice facility. And Embiid actually participated in full in this 5-on-5, I'll say full speed scrimmage, because of course the intensity level, not quite that of a game, but look, they were running up and down the floor. Embiid was making plays. He was dunking the ball. He really was moving pretty well. If you watch some of these videos, Adam Aronson on Twitter, Philly Voice, has a lot of those clips. He looked pretty good, and just to see him on the floor playing basketball in front of Sixers fans, it's just such a great sign to see. And Nick Nurse talked about how he thought Embiid really did look good in this scrimmage. Today was a good progression day for Joel Embiid. Lots of running, lots of 5-on-5, lots of early practice stuff, lots of drill work, lots of 5-on-0, and just a lot of getting him caught up to speed. And then he went out there and did his thing. Shot the ball well, scored well, orchestrated the offense well. I thought he ran pretty good as well in both directions. So just really a good sign for Embiid and his health that he looked good out there. And Brian Windhorst just reported that there is a lot of optimism right now inside of the 76ers building regarding the health status of Joel Embiid. He's been looking good in these practices. The knee has been responding well. Have they maybe found a plan and a treatment to not get him to play 82 games, but at least get him to be healthy enough where if they continue to manage it and manage his off days, because he does have times in practice over the past week or two where he is taking days off, right? But can you get it to a point where you can manage this effectively and he can be maybe not quite the MVP level player he once was, but still a dominant level player? That is the hope, and they are optimistic in that right now. Regardless, there is still no indication at this point if Joel Embiid is going to be ready for the Sixers opener in about a week and 2 days. It's probably going to be more of a game time call. We will see if he does end up being ready for that season opener. But look, he looks good right now, and I'd be pretty optimistic as well that he is ready to start the season. Much more positive, certainly, than what last year was. And it's great that fans actually got to see Embiid play, because it's been quite a while. He easily could have taken this off and said, you know what? It's the 5-on-5, full speed. I'm not gonna put myself out there in front of these fans, but he did it. I respect him for it, and hopefully we can continue to see him out there on the floor. Be honest with me right now. What's your level of confidence currently in Joel Embiid? I think my level of confidence in him has gone up a little bit throughout training camp. I'd say I'm at around a 7 right now, that he can at least have a productive season, much better than last year. But you let me know, scale your confidence level in Embiid this season, 1 through 10. 1, you have no confidence. 10, you think he's going to play all 82 games. Get involved down in the comment section. So we went through the signing of MarJon Beauchamp. We went through Embiid practicing live 5-on-5 in front of 76ers fans. Still to come, some more injury news and some more preseason takeaways as well for Philadelphia. But before we get into that, got to tell you guys about our fantastic sponsor here on the show, and that is our friends at PrizePicks. Today's 76ers Now brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football and this basketball season on PrizePicks, where it is good to be right. PrizePicks is super simple to play. All you got to do is pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in big time. I love PrizePicks because they always have all these new awesome features, including the new feature stacks, where you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. So if you wanted to pick more on Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns tonight on Monday Night Football, you can do all that in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. And you can follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app as well. Copy their lineups in one click with a new feed tab on PrizePicks. Speaking of those games here on this Monday, Atlanta versus Buffalo, Washington versus Chicago, little doubleheader. This is the lineup I am running with. Bijan Robinson, more than 15.5 rush attempts. Keon Coleman, less than 39.5 receiving yards. Caleb Williams, more than a half interception. And Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. It is that simple. And we have a great deal for all the 76ers fans out there. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Okay, let's get some other Sixers injury news here, starting with probably the most notable at this point in Paul George. According to the team and Nick Nurse, Paul George is still working some things out. Now, he is progressing after he had that knee surgery back in July, and he's been seen doing some individual drills and even seen at the end of last week doing some one-on-ones at the end of practice, but he has yet to go full speed in 5-on-5s, did not participate in the Sixers blue and white scrimmage yesterday. So he's progressing, he's getting there, and it's encouraging to see him in those one-on-ones because it did look like he was moving pretty well. But with the season just a week away at this point, I'd honestly be a little surprised if he is out there for that game against the Celtics on October 22nd. If he is, that's great. But at this point, I think you just hope he continues to progress well, continue to respond, and maybe we'll see him in the first week or two of the season. But the way they're talking about it right now, still working things out, I'm not 100% confident he will be ready for that game against Boston. Now, VJ Edgecombe did miss the Orlando Magic game last Friday with some hip soreness. It was a shame, of course, not to see him out there after he almost threw down this nasty poster dunk against the Knicks in Abu Dhabi. Did get another poster dunk later on in Game 2, but did miss that game. There was some concern from Sixers fans, like, oh, here we go again. Like, he was dealing with the injuries earlier in the Summer League, and now he's missing a preseason game. Is this the start of it? It really seemed more like a precaution, though, than anything, because VJ was out there for the scrimmage yesterday for Philadelphia, so seemed more like might have banged his hip a little bit in practice. The practices have been more physical, and they didn't want to risk anything in what is ultimately a pretty meaningless preseason game. But he was out there yesterday, and all signs point to him being 100% good to go for this last preseason game on Friday and, of course, the start of the regular season. Things don't sound as good for Trendon Watford. Now, we haven't gotten an official update from Nick Nurse. All we know is that the hamstring just continues to bother him. It's a shame for Watford because he was a player the Sixers signed this offseason who you think at that 4 spot, he's good friends with Tyrese Maxey. He has an interesting skill set, a good opportunity to earn a lot of minutes, right? But unfortunately, because of this hamstring injury, has missed really pretty much all of training camp, hasn't played in the preseason yet, and there's some other guys that are kind of passing him up in terms of minutes and showing their opportunity. So it's a shame because I think he can be a big-time player for the Sixers this season, maybe even starting at the 4 spot, and he certainly still can, but hamstring injuries are very, very tricky. He still isn't back out there. He's kind of similar to Paul George right now, where he's doing some individual work, but not quite full 5-on-5 basketball activities. So we'll hope he gets up to speed, but also seems like Watford might be missing the start of the regular season. That's all the injury news that we have. Luckily, it's not a whole lot as the Sixers are usually used to. Of course, McCain does remain out with a UCL in his thumb. Eric Gordon, Kyle Lowry had veteran rest days. But let's get to some of my preseason takeaways. And, we've talked about some of this before, but after that game against the Orlando Magic, it's really 2 guys that are especially standing out. One in Tyrese Maxey, where, look, it's no surprise. He looks 100% ready to go for the start of this season. Against the Knicks, the numbers weren't great, but the eye test really told you a whole lot. And then against the Magic last Friday, man, played the entire first quarter and then sat the rest of the game. 17 points, 2 assists, 7 of 14 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. He looked in command of the offense. He looked like he had more control over the offense than he did the first couple of games. I'm just so excited to see what he looks like entering a season now where he knows he needs to be more of a leader, where after a little bit of a down year last year, can he really take that next step and be that true alpha for this team? Because I think he is in a spot to be this team's true number 1 option. I'm very excited to see what we get from Tyrese Maxey. Good sign so far in this preseason. Now let's get to a little bit more of a surprise player here from the preseason. That's Dominick Barlow, and he was signed to a 2-way deal earlier this offseason for the Sixers at about 6'10", someone who can play that 4 spot, play that small ball 5, who, look, spent time with the Spurs, spent time with Atlanta, never really carved out a real rotational role for himself, but with his skill set certainly had an opportunity to earn some minutes on this Sixers team, and Philadelphia has 1 roster spot open. Dominick Barlow is making a strong case to take that last roster spot and be converted from his 2-way deal. He's been very good in those first 2 games against the New York Knicks, and then against the Magic, man. 29 minutes, 12 points, 9 rebounds, 6 offensive rebounds, 4-10 from the field. Couldn't hit a 3 in this one, but he did show the ability to hit some corner threes in those first couple of games. I think he's an early favorite right now to earn that final roster spot and earn minutes over a player like we talked about in Trendon Watford, who's also battling for minutes at the 4, who has not been able to showcase his skill set, and the other two-way player in Jabari Walker, who, to me, it's kind of always been a battle between Walker and Barlow, who's going to get that last roster spot. I like them both, but man, right now, Barlow, with his length, his athleticism, his size, and his hustle, his ability to hit the glass and do the little things and play within himself, right? Not do too much, do what's asked of him and play his role. It's honestly an area the Sixers have really struggled in the past couple of years, especially a player with that kind of profile. So I think he really is in a good position here, and I'm excited. I think he can also have a pretty big role for this Sixers team this season. I like Jabari Walker as well. Has struggled a little bit more and isn't getting as many minutes as Barlow, so definitely still want to keep an eye on Walker. But man, love what I have seen from Dominick Barlow, somebody who can play the 4, small ball 5. Very, very excited to see if he does earn an early role and get converted to a standard contract. I think he should. All right, that'll do it for today's 76ers Now. If you made it this far, hopefully that means you liked the video. If you did, I encourage you, hit that sub button, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video as well. It really does help me out a lot and tells YouTube that other Sixers fans should watch this content. Hit that sub button, and we'll see you next time right here on 76ers Now.